We're enjoying the fact that you're in there. We're enjoying the fact that you're finally sitting there reflecting on what you've done. I want to share with you that I'm going to be going out today with my kids. I'm going to go to a park, probably play with them. I might take off my shoes and lay in the grass.
They knew that he saw my videos from the video chat. They were like, "Can you provoke him?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can provoke him." That was his happy birthday video. That's what I really...
Okay.
I'm going to probably go get a gourmet pizza, a delicious pizza. I'm also probably going to stop and have a nice, long cappuccino, a really good gourmet coffee.
About the pizza, and I'm like, okay. And then I call a couple of days later and I said, "Did it work?" I said, "Dude, you made him live it. And you did it, man. Home run, you pissed him off."
So you're still kind of working with Homeland Security in strategically doing videos to try to get responses out of Torben.
Correct. And to get him to make phone calls and to make guys make mistakes.
Previously in our episodes, we have revealed how Torben was intentionally put in a bad light through a TV program in Denmark, but also how his name was smeared through fake social media accounts and false reports to government agencies. This fueled hate against Torben. We showed how a web of lies was constructed around him, primarily by two influential individuals who hate Torben, both for their own wicked reasons. And that Torben left with his family to America to escape this witch hunt against him and his family. Torben Søndergaard, a pastor from Denmark, has been detained in Florida for over a year without any formal charges. In August of 2023, he was deported back to Denmark, escorted by 2 U.S. immigration officers. With this video series, we want to make you aware of his case, and we will show you evidence that there is a fight going on, a fight over the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is an incredible story where things are not always what they seem. At the beginning of 2019, Torben and his family planned a mission trip to the USA. Due to daily negative publicity on TV and in newspapers, they moved up their flight to leave sooner than they had planned. They also had concerns for their children's safety because of unannounced visits of the government due to false reports to child welfare organizations. They landed in the USA on January 26, 2019. On their visa, they were able to stay for 3 months, so they were allowed to stay until April 25th. But on March 13th, something strange happened. Someone mysteriously canceled Torben's visa. Torben was not informed about this. He found out by accident when he looked on the website to check his visa status. He immediately suspected that his persecutors from Denmark had something to do with this. He sought legal counsel. A lawyer advised Torben to apply for asylum for the best chance of protection. Shortly after, on March 26th, the bill that criminalizes psychological abuse passed in the Danish parliament. On April 19th, Torben submitted his asylum application, and a few days later, the Department of Homeland Security acknowledged receiving his application. Importantly, all these actions took place within the 3-month period permitted by Torben's visa. We want to mention this because later, official documents and decisions of judges would state that Torben overstayed his visa. but he did not overstay his visa at any time. So, what did happen? When Torben was doing God's work in America, the same people responsible for the persecution of Torben in Denmark contacted the US government and told them lies about Torben. While Torben was in America, the following false accusations were brought against him. He's a child abuser. He's a rapist. He's a human trafficker. He's smuggling weapons across state lines. He's smuggling weapons across country lines. He's a scammer that preys on the sick and elderly. He's laundering money through friends overseas. He's committing immigration fraud. He evades taxes. He's committing perjury. All of these accusations are false. Where do these false claims come from?
Speaking to you men and women and Torben, tick-tock, buddy. Torben, you have no idea what we have in store for you when you get out. And when I say we, I mean all the other things that are about to unfold. You have no clue.
Meet Paul May. Paul is a former Bible school student of Torben who ran a YouTube channel against Torben when Torben was in prison.
Torben, this message is for you and you alone. This message is the most important message you will ever hear in your entire life. So that you know this message is from God and not from Paul.
Through his videos, he spread a lot of false information.
Torben looked at the money, looked at the men, and he grabbed the money and he said, "She just bought me a nice dinner," and he stuck it in his pocket.
But he sounded very convincing.
The things that I know are facts that time will tell. All the stuff that I've spoken is truth.
During his time in prison, Torben filed a defamation lawsuit against Paul.
We are reconceiving the video deposition of Paul Philip May in the matter of Torben Søndergaard versus Paul Philip May.
And then you're locked on the Bible. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Paul was asked a lot of questions about what he said in his videos. It soon became clear that he did not have proof to back up his claims. He also sounded a lot less convincing during the deposition.
Even as an immigrant, you were told why you were going to jail. They give you your charges and they tell you. Knew that he wasn't going to get out.
You say even as an immigrant you were told why you were going to jail. Do you know that as a fact?
I don't know that as a fact.
So you don't know whether an immigrant is told why he is being detained, do you?
An immigrant, no.
But you make that statement, correct?
Where did Paul get his information from? He was asked if he knew Thomas. We told you about Thomas in our previous episode. This Danish man orchestrated the persecution of Torben in Denmark. For you to understand this better, we need to give you the real name of Thomas now. His real name is Andre Hojer.
Do you know a man named Andre Hojer?
Yes.
How did he find you?
I had contacted a man that ran a YouTube named Hops Watch, and upon contacting him, he must have contacted Andre.
So tell me more about the first conversation you had with Andre, and he was telling you things about Torben. Is that correct?
Correct.
What was he telling you about Torben that you didn't already know?
Many things. Torben then decided he could not take the ridicule, the heat, the embarrassment, and decided to pack his bags in the middle of the night from his Jesus Center, where they had students and staff, and left in the middle of the night. Took the last month's rent from the center and fled to America.
Took the last month's rent from the center and fled to America. What's your basis for making that statement?
Andre Hilliard told me that.
What exactly did he tell you?
That he left. He packed his bags and left in the middle of the night. Quite literally.
Did he tell you that he took the rent
He did.
He told you that?
He did. In 3.5 weeks, he had accumulated $700,000 American.
In 3.5 weeks, he had accumulated $700,000 American.
The reason I know that number is because he tried to take it out of the country and got busted with it. You can't take that much money out of the country. Customs seized the $700,000.
The reason I know that number is because he tried to take it out of the country and got busted with it. You can't take that much money out of the country. Customs seized the $700,000. So what's your basis for saying that? Do you know that happened?
Andre told me.
Andre told you that?
Yes, sir. There was a gentleman that wanted him to go to Barcelona. He had money, and he wanted to pay for Torben's expenses. He wanted to pay for the whole trip.
There was a gentleman that wanted him to go to Barcelona. He had money, and he wanted to pay for Torben's expenses. Who was that?
I have no idea.
Where'd you get that information from?
Andre.
So you're just repeating what Andre told you, primarily?
Yes.
As you can hear, a lot of the false information Paul shared publicly came from Andre. Even more, Andre worked together with Paul to produce the videos and to make a website called tlrtruth.com that contained all of Paul's videos.
Did Andre talk to you about publishing videos?
Yes.
Andre had control of the website, and are you saying he was the one that would have put this on the website?
Yes, sir. He put everything on the website. He created the website. We had nothing to do with it, making it. I purchased it. I purchased the domain name. Andre created the website.
It also became clear that Andre was already in contact with the U.S. government.
Shortly after your first communication with Andre, you have your first communication with someone from the U.S. government about Torben.
Correct.
Did they contact you, or did you contact them?
They called me.
And they called you?
Correct.
How could Andre get access to people in the U.S. government? Why did they believe the lies he was telling them? That becomes clear in the following fragment.
What does he do for a living? Do you know?
I believe he works for Inside Out.
And what is Inside Out?
An organization that goes after cults.
Is that do you understand that to be his full-time job?
Correct.
We already shared with you that Andre works for the organization Inside Out in our previous episode. During a phone call, Paul also says that Inside Out works with the Danish government. At least, that is what Andre must have told him.
He now goes after cults for a living with a group called Inside Out and in Denmark. And now they're part of the government. The government has now used them as part of a branch of the government.
Paul confirms this connection during the deposition.
What is your understanding as to whether or not there's a connection between Inside Out and the Danish government?
My understanding of it?
Yeah.
I thought Inside Out was I didn't know it was part of the government.
Have you told people that it is?
That it is part of the government? Andre says that what Andre says is that he works with, that Inside Out now associates with the government. They're not in the government or owned by the government that I know of.
So Andre has said that Inside Out and Andre, work with the government?
He said he had access with the government now.
It is likely that Andre contacted the U.S. government using his position at Inside Out to make his allegations sound credible. In this hearing, it becomes clear Andre is the main source of false information about Torben.
Talking to Andre, which would have been Andre. Andre only. Andre told me. It was Andre and those. Andre was working with the government and Andre was relaying. It was a combination of things I had heard from Andre, speaking with Andre. That would have been Andre.
That is in reference to Andre?
Yes, correct. I trusted Andre. I believe Andre did. He's the one that contacted me and told me that. Andre Hojar. Andre Hojar had everything to do with it.
So what's your basis for having made that accusation?
Andre told me that it was a physical rape.
So many of the outrageous claims, like rape, human trafficking, tax fraud, perjury, child abuse, they all appear to come from Andre. But Andre went even further.
Did Andre ever tell you that he had private investigators working on this?
Yes. He had me talk to them and be the mediator here in America.
So you said mediator?
I'm the person he called and talked to.
In our research, it became clear that Andre and his team invested a lot of time and money to produce evidence for their false claims. Yet, they were not successful. But wait a minute. If there was no evidence of any crime, only wild speculations, and Torben is totally innocent, why did Homeland Security end up detaining Torben? The following fragment from a conversation with Paul reveals the reason.
My first video, when I did that, opened the floodgates. But the first phone call I got was the man who arrested Torben. Okay, that's something you can't repeat. But the man who put the handcuffs on him is a Christian, and I'm talking spirit-filled Christian. And he said he's seen everything on Torben, and he wanted to know how I knew so much.
Paul says two important things here. First, the officer that detained Torben is a Christian. Torben's ministry, the Last Reformation, seeks to reform the church, and many people in the church are opposing his message. Many Christians don't like the message Torben is preaching. The ICE officer that detained Torben is likely one of them. Also, he says, how do you know so much? That is obvious. Both Homeland Security and Paul got their information from the same source, Andre. What happens next? The Homeland Security officer calls Paul if he has evidence, because apparently the officer who detained Torben doesn't have the evidence to justify his action.
But, I've become really good friends with the one that has put him in there.
Is Edgardo a Christian?
Yes, a spirit-filled Christian.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Which is the beauty of it.
Tell me about the first conversation you had with Agent Centeno after the first video was published.
He wanted to know if I could help him in any way with his investigation.
He said he needed help with his investigation.
Yes, sir.
He wanted you to help him with the investigation.
Correct. He told me they were looking into numerous things, but he needed help trying to find how Torben Søndergaard was getting the cash out of America or where it might be going if I had any information on that, which I did not. But I told him I knew people who may.
And did you give him the names of the people that you knew?
Absolutely.
What names did you give him?
Andre only.
You still to this day don't know why he's being detained, do you?
No, sir.
Talking to my ICE agent, he wanted me to call the Charlotte office, and you have to call the 1-800 number to even get the agents that I talked to in the beginning. And then he wanted me to tell him the story. He told me that human trafficking is not just for sex; it's for slave labor.
We believe the agent intends to disguise the lack of evidence by employing a tactic. He asked Paul May to file a report and specifically used the word trafficking.
And he told me to word it as trafficking, okay? But it was not sexual trafficking. It was, trafficking.
In the conversation, they discussed the volunteers assisting Torben at the Bible schools. Given that these volunteers were not compensated, the term slave labor was used to describe their work. This terminology was then cited as justification for using the term trafficking. This would assign Torben a higher risk label. In this manner, the officer was even able to categorize Torben as a threat to national security. This label was very convenient for the officer who detained Torben, because it could be used as a reason to avoid answering questions from Torben's lawyers. Therefore, Torben's lawyers did not receive information about why Torben was being detained. This is a matter of national security was the only answer they received. It was a very frustrating situation. The truth was, they had no valid reason to detain Torben. On July 26, 2023, Congressman Clay Higgins, a representative for Louisiana's 3rd Congressional District, spoke about Torben. His office spent hundreds of hours investigating his case. He drew the following conclusion.
I also have a letter to enter to the record regarding the case of Mr. Torben Søndergaard. He'd been persecuted by this administration and targeted, we believe, because he's an evangelical Christian minister.
After Torben was released from prison, he and his team released a website with a timeline of all the events. Among many other things, you can also find the complaint that Torben filed against the officer that detained him. Also, this timeline released Andre's name for the first time. Inside Out immediately responded with a message on social media.
Imagine that 7 years ago, you left a religious environment you found unhealthy, and now that religious group is publicly vilifying you. Torben Søndergaard, leader of the Last Reformation, is doing exactly this to our former chairman, Andre. The Andre we have come to know in Inside Out has, from day one, emphasized that he wishes no harm to Torben.
If Andre wishes no harm on Torben, why did Andre and his team hire private investigators to spy on Torben? Why did he provide false information to authorities and to YouTubers?
You've got to come forward, and he wouldn't come forward. He wanted me to come forward. He wanted me to do the legwork. He would supply everything, money, private eyes.
Inside Out also wrote,
We emphasize that Inside Out is not set up to fight cult or religious groups, including Torben Søndergaard and his followers.
But this is not what Andre told Paul.
And what is Inside Out?
An organization that goes after cults.
As we showed you in this episode, Andre did fight Torben and his ministry during his time at Inside Out. It was at this time he created the website, tlrtruth.com.
Warning: if you choose to enter this site or watch our content and continue to support Torben Søndergaard in any way, you will be held accountable on the day of judgment for learning the truth and choosing to ignore the truth.
Who created TLR Truth?
Andre Hojan.
There is so much more to say about this.
Did he ever use the word Russian Mafia to you?
Yes, sir.
Frank did?
Yes, sir.
How can we protect our hearts? By following what Jesus taught us. Love your enemies and pray for them. Overcome bad things with good. We will keep you updated through the website torbensondergaard.com/timeline. Here we will end our Revealing series. We hope that this series has helped you to open your eyes for the devastating effects of slander. We want to make you aware that our enemy, Satan the deceiver, is skilled in deceiving people. Torben is not alone in facing this issue. Many Christians around the world have also become victims of slander. We hope that by sharing Torben's story, you'll better understand the battle we're all facing. God bless you all.